Welcome back to Rustpromoter. Since Contra celebrates its 35th anniversary this year, I thought it would be fun to do a retrospective on one of the games in the Action Pack series. While I could have easily chosen one of the half a dozen objectively good games in the series, what's the fun in that? I instead chose to look towards one of the ugly ducklings in the series, and in this case, I chose Neo Contra. While not considered the worst by far, it had a lot of mixed reviews at launch and is usually found towards the bottom of most Contra ranked games lists. Most criticism was aimed at its short length, controls, and presentation, with many reviewers claiming that the new 3D formula that the game uses just didn't feel like Contra. Now, Konami has always had a tough time trying to bring the Contra series into the 3D realm, pretty much failing at every attempt. On the original PlayStation, they released Contra Legacy of War and the Contra Adventure, both trying different gameplay mechanics, but unfortunately, each falling short of glory. It was with the PS2's Contra Shattered Soldier that they finally got it right by mixing classic side-scrolling Contra with great-looking 3D animations. The success of Shattered Soldier didn't stop Konami from once again trying to push the Contra series in a different direction, and thus Neo Contra was born.
And you are?
Animal Contra, the captain of this aircraft carrier.
Neo Contra abandons the traditional side-scrolling style for a more top-down isometric one. Playing much more like a twin-stick shooter, you'll have to maneuver around the area, dodge attacks, and shoot enemies coming from all sides. Apart from the free-form shooting sections, the different stages will throw in some different twists on the gameplay, such as riding on the back of whatever this thing is. Oh, and of course, it wouldn't be Contra without bosses, and this game doesn't disappoint, offering up tons of unique and entertaining boss fights. At the beginning of your playthrough, you'll select a weapon loadout that includes a standard projectile weapon, an explosive style weapon, and a lock-on style weapon. The projectile and explosive guns can be swapped out between each other at any time, but the lock-on weapons are fired separately, best used when a designated target pops up on certain enemies. Each weapon set does a good job of feeling unique from one another, with each offering their own pros and cons. Since it only takes one shot to put you down, the game implements a new roll mechanic, as well as an evasion move that, if you time it right, allows you to become invincible for just a split second. These become invaluable techniques to master, especially later on in the game when the difficulty starts to ramp up. Using all these mechanics, you'll have to fight your way through several stages all in one go. In true Contra fashion, there is no saving between missions, so you'll have to make sure to be cautious of your lives and retries to see the end of the game. Like other games in this series, you'll have to perform well if you want to progress to certain stages or even see certain endings. This is determined by the rank you receive at the end of each stage. As you play, a hit rate counter at the bottom of the screen will show the percentage of the overall enemies you've defeated in the level. The higher the ratio, the better your rank, but be careful, the amount of deaths and retries will subtract from the final total. While not even in the ballpark as some of the other games in the series, Neo Contra does retain a notable amount of difficulty, especially when you're attempting to get the higher ranks in each of the stages. Here lies the addictive nature of Neo Contra. A playthrough can easily be done in under an hour, so the game urges you to keep replaying to get better and better. As you go through different playthroughs, you'll unlock different lives and retry options, new characters, and new weapon sets. There is even a training mode that allows you to practice each mission individually to help you get better. Of course, it wouldn't be a Contra game without the option for a buddy to drop alongside you to help curb some of that difficulty. Going back through the stages as fast as you can, testing out different weapon sets, and trying your hardest to keep your death count down is the sort of challenge that I think is at the heart of the Contra games, and it's still present in Neo Contra. Unfortunately, the biggest hindrance to this is the game's control scheme. While I mentioned earlier that the game plays like a twin-stick shooter, it doesn't control like one. The game doesn't use the second analog stick making you shoot in the direction that you're constantly moving. Instead, the game opts for a weird 2-button control scheme. Holding down the L2 button locks your character into place, allowing you to swivel around in one spot to get a more focused shot. While the R2 button locks the direction that your character is facing, so you'll strafe while you shoot. This control scheme definitely takes some getting used to, and it's probably one of my biggest complaints about the game. While you do eventually get used to it after a while, it does take some time with a lot of death and frustration up to that point. The music is, as you'd come to expect from a mid-2000s action game, full of an eclectic mix of metal and techno that I'll let you decide if you consider it to be actually good or not. If you love action games and twin-stick shooters and you're willing to spend some time replaying levels, then I think you will really love Neo Contra. Many purists may not like Neo Contra, but I feel like a lot of Contra's core elements are there. The fun boss fights, the crazy over-the-topness, and the challenge to get better and faster are all essential to this game. Definitely a pickup for fans of PS2 action games, and is worth an afternoon playing side by side with a buddy. Looking at the physical case of the game, you can tell Neo Contra's cover art is just really cool. That's because Konami hired the renowned comic book artist Jim Lee, who has won several awards for their work with DC and Marvel Comics, to do the cover art for the game. It's not often that you see comic book artists commissioned for this sort of thing, so that alone is cool enough of a feature to pick up this game. If you're looking to do so, the game is running between $20 and $30. Naturally, being a short game, this is kind of a high price to pay if you don't think you're going to be interested in replaying this game repeatedly. With Konami being pretty forthcoming with their re-releases as of late, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Shattered Soldier Neo Contra combo at some point. Honestly, I really hope that they do, because this would give people the opportunity to enjoy this over-the-top amusing gem. What are your thoughts on Neo Contra? Do you think the series should give up on becoming a 3D shooter? I would love to see your comments below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more retro content here on Rustpromoter.